Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Bufnagle the podcast, where we explore entertaining and enlightening discussions of the adventure of life and all things good. From science and technology to history and philosophy to leadership and success. We hope to give you a better understanding of the world and skills for everyone to pursue their own adventure. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Bufnagle the podcast, where we talk about all things good in the pursuit of the adventure of life. I'm Zach, and we got a fantastic show today. We're going to be looking at the people we surround ourselves with, the communities we're a part of, and what makes them all special and what they say about us. But, however, I can't do this alone, so as always, I'm roping Rafe on into the mix. Rafe, how are you doing today?
Zach, I am roped on in to our little Bufnagle community here. Hey, and those of you guys out there listening, you are part of our community, and without you, we would be nothing. So thank you for being part of our community and for being regular listeners. We really appreciate that. As usual, we're reachable at bufnagle@bufnagle.com, and we're on all the social media things. If you got a question, bufnagle.com, boom, we'll get you answered. We promise 24-hour support once we read it. So we'll get you an answer. All right. So hey, if you're new to the podcast, welcome. We are glad you are here. We're gonna ask you, hey, give us 4 episodes, and we will give you something to talk about. We'll give you something to talk about, and a reason to come back for more. We talk about lots of things, and certainly something will resonate with you. And remember, tell a friend to listen, and you will get a free episode. And hey, hit that subscribe button, because when you do, I get chocolate pudding. All right. And 5-star reviews. Those help too. Zach gets chocolate pudding then. So Zach, that's our Bufnagle community. That's like what the secret pledge to be part of the group is. You have to tell a friend, you get a free episode or something like that. And tell me about your community.
Yeah, so recently I was getting my back adjusted at the chiropractor like I do every other week or so, and the conversation of Thanksgiving came up. And Thanksgiving is personally one of my favorite holidays. I believe I've mentioned that on this podcast before. And the reason it is because you get to celebrate with your community, your people who are close to you. There's not fanfare about, Christmas and presents. It's community, people, the people you care about there, and you get to celebrate it. Maybe it's a FaceTime call that's real quick on Thanksgiving saying, hey, I'm thinking of you. I'm thankful for you because of this reason. And you've helped me done X or Y or Z in life. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm thankful for that. And you lift those people up and, you make them feel better. And that's kind of what we're talking about today. We're talking about community, the people we surround ourselves with, and kind of the reflections that they are of us as individuals.
Thanksgiving, as you said that, I was like, and we're going to do this because Thanksgiving's coming up and we're getting all warmed up. I'm doing my pre-Thanksgiving stretching exercises so I can.
So you eat more than normal?
Well, I can't eat more than normal. It's just a regular. I just get full. But anyway, it's a fun holiday. Think about that holiday. What a great holiday! It's just a holiday. There's no presents. There's no pomp. There's no you have to go do something. You pretty much show up with the people that you are thankful for, and food that you are thankful for. A lot of people do turkey and mashed potatoes, and they do sweet potatoes. Zach, a lot of people do sweet potatoes. World's most perfect imposter food. They do the sweet potatoes, but they don't all do that. People do pizza, and they do pancakes, and
they do Chinese food.
You can do Chinese food, Indian food. You can do. It's all about you, and the whole point of the whole holiday is thankfulness, and it's what a miraculous and wonderful thing to have a special day dedicated just to that. And the thing we do is it's not proper to do that alone. You got to have somebody else with you. You have to be surrounded by your community. You have to be around a group of individuals that you share something. Zach, I actually looked up the word. You share something in common, hence the name community. And I was wondering, Zach, okay, so there's some words that I was going to make this little understatement. I was going to say, there are some words that I know. But
I was going to make the statement and respond of, I don't know how to read any of them. So
these are really big words, Zach. Okay, so there's some words that I know, like companion, I loved when I don't know if I figured this out. Somebody told me that. I read the dictionary. I'm sure it was companion. Your companion is somebody that you quite literally eat bread with. All right. Com means with, and panion is bread. Or like Panera. Right.
Okay,
Companion is
this
somebody.
reminds me of that scene from from Big Fat Greek Wedding of when he's explaining how every word relates back to Greek. We've done that before, so I'm not
Yeah.
gonna
Okay. Well,
do
so
that now.
companion, that's a Greek. Okay. Compassion. Okay. So that's something you do in community as well. So you do compassion, you suffer with. You do companion, you eat bread with. I thought community, you do munity. I didn't know what that was. So I figured it. So, but community is something you do in common with somebody else, and you often suffer with them, and you eat with them, and you also laugh with
And
them,
you
and
celebrate, and
right, and
you
that's community.
reflect, and you build up. And I don't know, I use the phrase of celebrate humanity. You celebrate that we get this gift of humanity, we get this gift of life, and we get the opportunity to choose the people that we want to celebrate and spend time with. Maybe we don't get to see them as much as we'd like, and that happens. But when we do get to see them, it's fun, it's laughter, it's joy, it's even the compassion if you've gone through a rough patch, and they're there for you and they support you and they help you get back to you being the best version of yourself so that you can do that for other people as well.
Well, you list all those things that happen at the Thanksgiving dinner, but there is also sometimes, Zach, there is what's the opposite of joy? There's some grief sometimes, and sometimes there is like if somebody's missing this year and they weren't missing last year and they're never going to be around again, that can be kind of sad because you've lost a piece of your community. And sometimes your community fights a little bit, right? I mean, any good family will have some sort of altercation and discussion, but the community is bigger than those little things that separate you. And so you'll do it again. You'll do it again next year. You'll have that joint psychosis together, but it's your community is the thing you do in common, and that might just be your family. So we talked yesterday when we were figuring out how to make all this go together, Zach, about your community making you better, right?
Yeah.
Is that essential?
I mean, I think for me, that is something I look for in my community and the people I surround myself. I want them to push me to be a better athlete, to be a better academic, to be a better scholar, to be a better podcaster.
Podcaster. Hey, I got it
Yeah,
right.
you made the list. I want those people around me who are going to pull me in the direction of you are too good to be stagnant in what you want to do. Like you should always be growing. You have these goals, you have these dreams. I want to see you achieve them. And when you achieve them, we're going to celebrate them, and then we're going to utilize whatever we learned from that experience, and we're going to go on to the next thing. We're always going to be building a better version of ourselves. And then when we build that better version of ourselves, the people we're surrounded up, they get pulled up onto the next rung with us, and we're all coming in together. And if you're surrounded by people who are super positive and energetic, you're going to feed off that energy. You're going to feed off that vibration that they give off. And you're going to be a little more positive. You're going to be a little more energetic. And you're going to be able to spread that to the other people in your life. Very similar to how I mentioned about the 6 degrees of impact a couple weeks ago. It's a very similar concept that's going on there. That support system, that community that you're around, they're reflecting, the values of, what you believe in yourself. Maybe it's values of like compassion and, supporting, other people who are struggling, or, something like that. Maybe it's the fact that they motivate you to be better and to push, your limits instead of saying, hey, Rafe, you did 50 push-ups. Why don't you ever do 51 push-ups?
Well, sometimes I do 51 push-ups. All right, that's I would well, but okay, that's the thing though, right? Is I guess having you can't just be in a community if you are just existing there with other people around you, right? They have got to. I guess if you want to do anything good, I guess you could probably call it a community if you're all just sitting there watching, you know, watching TED TV and playing Astro Blaster on your phones or whatever it is. They should push you and make you better. If they are not making you better, then you got to get yourself a different community. Whether it's better, physically, doing more push-ups, spiritually, getting your little butt to church. Whether it's emotionally, getting your head on right. Um, your community should be doing that. I guess the question I thought up, Zach, while you were going on that little rant there for a little bit, the concept of an online community, is that an oxymoron?
Well, I think it depends. If it's an online community and you're just typing back and forth to somebody and you're like, oh, hey, good job at X or good job at Y, and there's none of that human face to face interaction, you lose part of the humanity, part of the human element of that community. But if that interaction is it's an online community, but maybe there's a Zoom call invite, maybe there's a FaceTime, maybe there's once every couple of months you do a meetup thing, a picnic.
Yeah.
That community is a little stronger and a little more connected because you get the nonverbal cues of the way that Zach's lip perks up when he smiles, or the way that somebody is able to the way they shift and they move in conversation. You get to experience that with them in person, and that community becomes something more. An online community, if it's just a bunch of people on the message board, that's a bunch of people on a message board. There is no community. Maybe they have a similar interest, which is awesome and great, but they're not directly interacting with each other and helping each other and tweaking each other to be better like you would in those more tight-knit communities.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I think that it seemed, because I'm not sure you remember the age much before the interwebs, because you were born in 94, right? And by 2000 things were pretty much, they were lined up pretty well, as very similar to what we have now. We didn't have all the social media stuff, but we had message boards. Zach, we had message boards in graduate school back in the day. Alt.rec.lego. I mean, these message, you would go to these places and you could type in little questions. I remember one time I was doing a fantasy baseball team, and I wanted to have a baseball team of guys that were all named John. So
you weren't taking it very seriously, is
what
you're telling me?
I never did that. But so I was willing to accept Juan or John or Johnson, right, or something like that. And so I posed some of those questions to that message board, and I got some responses. But it's it's thin, and it's empty, and I wonder if the Turing test has been passed numerous times with those online interactions. If they've just apparently a lot of social media stuff, a lot of online stuff is just done by bots. Now, I don't think my stuff is, because I kind of know the people I interact with, because I interact with them online because I know them in some other community instead of the other way around. I'm trying to think of people that I've met online that I've then met in real life that I still have I guess I don't know if I know anybody, because everybody that I really know, they might have been involved in the same thing, but there was an online piece and a real life piece, and we went. The real life piece is the part that makes it work.
Yeah. Okay. So it's funny that you mentioned that. So I joined a book club beginning of 2021.
Nice.
So my friend that I know in person, lots of interactions with, is like, hey, I'm starting a book club. Who's interested in doing book club? I'm like, ooh, choose me. That was my interaction in my brain when she posted about it. And then she brought a bunch of people that knew her in some capacity.
Wait. Where did she post it?
Instagram, on the internet.
Okay, so she
was like, hey, I'm doing this thing. I want to read this book with a bunch of people and then build a book club, and we can read other books in the future, but this is the one I want to start with.
But you knew her before Instagram?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we follow each other on Instagram and stuff like that. And then, there were other people. Yes. My dad is currently pretending that his fingers are people following each other, and he's very entertained by himself. But anyways.
So you followed each other on Instagram, and then she did the book club.
And then book club brought a bunch of people who knew her, and then other people who were like, oh, I think my friend would, be a part of this group. So they brought their friend in. And so eventually we had this group form of people who knew Alex and were connected for the idea of, we want to read a book. Luckily, all of us, except for like one or two people, were based out of Minnesota. So in May, we finally met up in community as a group. And since then, we've all stayed in interaction and connection and community with each other, even though this thing started out as an online community over the internet, over Zoom, over Instagram. And it's morphed into this, real life, in person, let's grab dinner, hang out, and like talk about life because we're all interested in these ideas that we read about in the books we read about, self-development and growth and you know community and the people we surround ourselves with.
But you had the connection with Alex before you started. Alex had that connection with those other people that she connected. So she had all of those connections.
Yeah.
Now you made a secondary connection with Alex's friends because you happened to be in the same place. But those friendships really didn't take off, I'll bet, until you actually met in person. I mean, so you can have those back and forth banters here and there, but it is really, really hard. And it takes a long, long time. You got to have you got to have the video going. You got to understand how people act and how they act and interact with you. And you got to be able to see that physical expression, the emotion,
the nonverbal communications. Yeah. But I've also done things where I've met in community of people across the country, and we all, it would be once a week we get together, have that video communication, and talk about things and engage in community that way. And there were obviously underlying things that helped prop up the community connections with through social media or group messaging systems and things like that, so that I could interact with someone from Texas or I could interact with someone from California. Granted, it's hard to build that that core relationship that you're talking about without that in-person element, but you can talk about a lot of deep and philosophical things that you are interested in and you are connected to and drawn to over this face-to-face communication.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to stick with the online community by itself is an oxymoron.
Yes.
The online tools can help help maintain that community for a while. But if you don't have regular face-to-face interactions, that's going to be tough for you. Now, I know we're going to get people who are going to be like, no, I have great interactions with my friends that live in Paraguay. And maybe you do. All right, I'll give you that. But you know what you do after a while? You're like, you know what? We got to get together. Let's meet in Belize or something, right? And then it becomes real, right? Then it becomes it's a real thing. I'm thinking, Zach, I have this. I'm gonna go in a direction there. I think you know where I'm going to go here. Is like I wrote down these things that community gives you, right? And I have these verbs. Okay, community. I said improves you, strengthens you, laughs with you, cries with you. It speaks truth to you. It feeds your heart, your mind, and your body. And it doesn't allow you to not be virtuous.
I think support you is also is that a verb? Is support a verb?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's transitive even. Yeah, it's a verb, right? But you know what? But then I looked at that, okay, and I came to this thing. I come back to this all the time, Zach, because it's become such a fundamental and integral part of how I see the world. Is all of those things: improvement, strengthening, laughing, crying, speaking truth, feeding heart, mind, not allowing you to not be virtuous. That's love, right? And it's seeking your good, and love drives everything. And again, this is not the mushy moo face seventh graders in the in the corner at the sock hop. All right, this is real.
The sock hop. I don't even want to know.
I don't want to go to a sock hop. They don't even do sock hops anymore. They have to, that's even down because of this whole internet stuff. Going playing smoochy face at the sock hop. They're like, I don't need that. I'll just sit at home and play video games. Love drives all of that stuff, and real honest to goodness, agape, putting the other above yourself thing, that drives everything. And I keep coming back. I'm an unapologetic apologist. I said, can I be such a thing?
I don't know. That sounds like an oxymoron.
Well, 1 Corinthians, If I speak in human and angelic tongues, but I do not have love, I'm a resounding gong or a clashing cymbal. Those of you who know this reading from First Corinthians, or they do this at weddings all the time, right? Um, this is it. Go read that again. Go read Paul's letters to the Corinthians, especially the 13th chapter of the first letter. It's everything about love. All right. And it talks about how important those are for establishing community. And I see that, it's everywhere. Love, patient, kind, not jealous, not pompous, not inflated. Think of your really good friends, right? And they always read this at weddings, and they like, you always think of it in the context of marital love, but I think in terms of like friendship, community love, right? Think of what look, Zach's looking at me right now, and he's sitting there with his hands folded, just waiting. He's patient, he's kind, or he's not jealous, he's not pompous, he's not inflated, right? He's not rude, doesn't seek his own interests. He's not quick tempered. He's not brood over injury. He does not rejoice over wrongdoings, but rejoices with the truth. And you find friends in a community that can do that for you, that will allow you to bear all things, believe all things, hope all things, and endure all things, and that will never fail. All right, this is the center tenet of the whole Western community idea. Is right there. It's right in that little box, 3 or 4 verses out of the 13th chapter of the first letter to the Corinthians. So, Zach, I saw that and I was like, this is where this is going for me. It's all about love.
Yeah, I think you make a very good point about love, and you mentioned this earlier in that little soliloquy there about this seeking of love and seeking of good. I think that seeking of good and love and that pursuit as a whole is the adventure of life. It's surrounding and finding the people who have similar values and similar interests, and having them around you so that they can be honest with you and be real with you and say, hey, you're good enough to do this thing, go get it, because I believe in you. And they want you to succeed, and they want you to be treated fairly and kindly. And they're the people that when life sucker punches you and then kicks you while you're down a little bit and then throws you in the back of a minivan and throws you into the Hudson River, they're going to be the ones picking you up on the shore there, because they're like, okay, you've stumbled, you've had a rough time here, but you have the ability to get back up and keep going. And those type of people, and that love, that kindness, that grace that those people show in community and support of another, that's all that really matters sometimes at the end of the day.
And people are looking for that, and they're always striving for that. And when they find it, that becomes a fundamental component of who they are. Right. And so a couple weeks ago on the 25th, you know what the 25th of October is, Zach?
The day before the 26th of October.
That's right. And it's after the 24th. All right. And October 25th is the feast day of St. Crispin. All right. And St. Crispin is known in British things for all sorts of stuff, but there's a St. Crispin Day speech in Shakespeare's play Henry V. Do you know this?
No.
Okay, well, you've heard this term.
I might have read this. I have read a good deal of Shakespeare in my life, surprisingly.
You probably have read this, okay? And there's a very classic, you can find one of these famous scenes in this British actor, and he gives the speech in this movie. You go look up St. Crispin's Day speech, but he uses this phrase, Zach, and when I get to this, you'll recognize this, because this is the epitome of one of those kinds of love. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. All right, that was King Henry right before the battle with the bad guys. But that's the band of brothers is that epitome of love in the group, in the community, of a bunch of people trying to do a good thing.
Yeah, I mean that's a community of people believing in the same thing and chasing it and going after it. And they have whatever it is. I want to talk about this a little bit more, but I want people to think about as they're listening to this, who are the people closest to them? Who are the 5 people closest to them? And what values and what reflections do those people show of you? If the people that you think of are positive and joyful and, you know, rambunctious and fun to be around, do you think those values and those traits are reflected properly in you? Maybe they're more calmer and quieter and like to sit on the couch and read philosophy books. And are the people in your life, are they reflective of that? And do they help you understand those values? And what do they show about you? Like, we as a society sometimes think, oh, community, I do thing X and I'm part of this thing, but like, are you doing anything to give back? Are you reflecting anything back? Are the people that you're surrounding with reflecting onto you who you want to be onto the world?
Yeah, that is a thing that if you are a sports fan, you may have a sports team that you follow. And occasionally we do things in our society where we do what I call group membership proclamation. So like if you're a fan of the Yankees, you'll wear a Yankees cap, and if you see a guy with a Yankees cap across, you'll be like, "Hey, I have a Yankees cap," and you go like, "Yeah, go Yankees," or whatever it is. Or you may say like, if you're an Auburn fan, all right, and you see somebody with an Auburn shirt, you say what?
War Eagle.
You can say War Eagle, all right, and you do that.
And if you
Right?
see an Alabama friend, you say
Roll Tide.
and then
Right?
if you really don't care, you just mix the two together and you get War Tide and
Roll Eagle.
Enrollee. Yeah.
Yeah, and that gets both of them upset. So that's
Yeah.
kind of fun to do. Right? But you say those things, right? And if you're a Packers fan, you say "Go Pack, go!" And but what's interesting to me is if you see somebody on your side, somebody in your community, like you're driving down the street, and somebody comes and cuts you off, and then you see they have a bumper sticker on their car from your team, you're like, dude, quit making us look bad, right? Don't you think that? You're like, I wish that guy would like, come on, quit bringing us down. Quit being a jerk, man. You want everybody to hate us? So you want in your community, you've got to be knocking heads to make sure people are pulling their share. Like you said, Zach, are they bringing you up? Are they reflecting the good that you're trying to do?
Yeah, and I think to your point too, are they celebrating the same values as you? If you're somebody who, what's an example I want to do here? Let's say you're part of a gym, and the gym focuses on getting stronger and lifting people up and pushing people to be better athletically and mentally and physically and all of those things. And if you come into the gym and you see a guy who's weaker than you, smaller than you, and they're trying something difficult and new for the first time, and they fail or they stumble with it, and you push that person off, are you reflecting what the gym is a part of? Or do you come in and you see a guy struggling and you say, okay, hey, next time you got this. Hey, if you need help, I got your back. I'm here to support you. I want to see you get this because I believe in you. And if you're the second person, and you're reflective of that gym attitude, and maybe that's why you go to that gym, is because it shows this greater self, this greater version of yourself, and it makes you be that person. Because if you come in with the crappy attitude, you'll be shunned, and then you won't, even though you have that community and you're a part of that gym, you won't be engaging with other people who are there, and you're just an outlier.
Isn't that why people like hate certain gyms, and like women don't like gyms because it's just guys like being guys in the gym, and they're just like, look how strong I am, look how many weights I can lift, look how many presses I can bench, and whatever the thing, right? And they're doing all that stuff. You know what? How about a little grace, right? How about a little love for your neighbor? You're both at the gym. You're both seeking a similar thing. You are now in community, right? And you can be in community just by being at the same gym. And what happens is you get, Jesus said, you got 2 or more gathered in my name, there I am. Right? That's, what that happens with Jesus, but it also happens at the gym where there are 2 or more are gathered to lift weights. There is gravity, right? I mean, or whatever, however you want to put it in there, right? You guys are now on the same team. You got to have each other's backs. You have to be the few, the happy few, the band of brothers. You've got to do that if you're going to have community. And if you don't, you're just a lone rock sitting along the side of the road, just like you're nothing, man. Get in community and make sure it is forcing you to be better, bigger, stronger, faster.
Yeah.
Insert your favorite Latin phrase here.
Yeah, and I think that that community too, like I've mentioned it before, reflects your values. If you're somebody who goes and seeks a community of people who want to talk about self development, self growth, you know, those more philosophical and meditative principles, and you go to people and they want to talk about the football game, well, you have a community, but you're not connected to that community. You can say, hey, I'm part of this community, I do this thing with these people. But if that's not the thing that you're interested in, that's not the thing that like gives you a little spark, you need to find a new community. And that is sometimes a very difficult thing to do because it's hard to navigate, like, okay, where do I fit? Where do I belong? What do I seek in myself? What do I seek in others? How does that reflect in me or reflect out of me? And you can't just say, oh, I'm part of this community, they make me feel good because I'm around people. But if you're around people and you don't get to have the conversations you want, you don't get to have the interaction you want, maybe it's time to step away, reevaluate things, and seek and find the things that you believe in.
Yeah, and this is where it gets a little tough though, because you don't want to get to the point where you say, well, I couldn't find my community, so I just went by myself, or I went online and I found a bunch of yahoos that believe what I believe. And next thing you know, you can be like a skinhead, jerkhead, right, doing stupid stuff on the internet with people that you think are their community. So your community's got to do it's got to do a couple things for it. It should reinforce the things that you believe are good, right? But and it also got to keep you from drifting. You know, when the communities, when they splinter and they move to the edge, we talked about this, Zach, about staying in the middle of the road on the berm. It's easy to go to one side or go to the other. Remember the yellow line's right down the middle of the road? And you know what? That's why they put yellow number 5 in the Diet Mountain Dew. That's because of the yellow line down the middle of the road, right? You're supposed to stay right down the middle of the road. And if you're in a community and they're keeping you from deviating, then that's a good thing. So maybe you do like to read poetry and stuff like that. But, you know, now and then, you probably ought to go lift some weights, right? And if you're a weightlifter, you ought to be reading a little bit of poetry, right? So all those things are in there. You got to find a way to keep yourself in the human community, right? And you got to seek the good, be the good, spread the good, right? And stay down that yellow number 5 right down the middle of the road.
I mean, you make a very good point. I like how you mentioned like the gym and the poetry. Like those are two very different things, but they represent different parts of our personalities. And we need to show and give love to all sides of our personalities, all sides of our person. If we're uncomfortable with going into a group that we're normally comfortable in and talking about a certain topic, maybe that's not the community where you can talk about that topic. Maybe you need to find a different community, or maybe you need to find one or two friends inside that community that you can make a sub community with, that to be able to express that. And that is an okay thing to do. But if your community is the same 5 people who do the same 6 things and you have the same 3 conversations all the time, are you really surrounding yourself with community at that point?
Yeah, think about that. How many movies are there about guys that are like in their 40s and they're always talking about the high school
What they
game,
did in high school? Yeah.
right? And they were seniors in high school and how they should have beaten Central Tech, and that's because so and so cheated and we didn't like. How Zach? Isn't that like Adam Sandler? Isn't that his movie?
Oh
All the
yeah,
time?
it's
And
the
David Spade.
yeah, that it's what's the name of it?
I don't know. I
They
just
go to the swimming pool and they have a bunch of fun and cause some mayhem.
yeah, but
It's a great time.
it's a
Grown
great
ups,
time.
but
What
they're
is
not
it?
very grown up. Yeah,
Well, they're
yeah.
not grown-ups, all right? And that's the thing, is if you want to grow, you got to do other things. I knew this kid in high school, and he was like, I've taken all the AP courses, and I don't have anything else to take, and I'm not sure what I should do. I said, well, why don't you take an art class? He was like, well, I can't draw, I can't do art. It was like, well, that's why you take the class, all right? Broaden yourself, make yourself a little bit bigger, faster, stronger. And look, Zach draws stuff. He just showed me the picture of the flower again. It do something to make yourself better. All right. Stretch yourself out. Learn to play an instrument. All right. Learn how to run. Learn how to garden. All right. Learn how to
And
cook.
that's this human endeavor, this human chase that we get to do in life. And it's not worth doing all of those things if you, at the end of the day, can't go home or can't go to people and say, hey guys, look what I did. Like, I have this friend who recently started doing charcoal drawings because he likes to draw. He's not the world's greatest author, but and not author artist, but he enjoys doing it and he gets joy from it. And I've gotten a lot of joy of watching him, draw these
Does
these
he draw like with
portraits.
the charcoal briquettes like you get that you put on your grill?
I have never seen his process of drawing. I've seen his
Uh,
finished pieces of drawing. I was
It's,
like, that's
yeah, I don't know
amazing.
how anybody draws with charcoal. I look at it and first of all, my hands get all messy. I can't stand that. But
You
then
don't
it's
like
like,
messy?
yeah, I'm not into messy, Zach. But it is amazing to see what you can learn when you work at it. And then what you do is you find out, you know what? I'm not very good at this. I need to keep working. And the community will pick you
Yeah.
up, push you along. And the next thing you know, um, you've extended your community to other places, and you're enriching everybody's life.
Yeah, and that goes
That's what the
back to the
community
six
ought to do.
degrees of impact that we talked about a couple weeks ago. You're creating these positive ripples and these positive impact through people and for people, and it's a beautiful thing to do that we get to do as humans. And if we don't get to share that in community, what are we really doing this life for?
Yeah. So is there a place that you could get to community? Do you think? Is there a
Oh,
you
when
know,
you're
we
part of like a weird cult that's like all the people you do, it's the same thing as like when you have the same four high school friends and you talk about the same five stories. Like it's the cult of like, I don't know, if you're not doing something good and like definitionally good, like being a cult, you know, if you're part of a cult and you guys actually do something good, well, maybe we can have this conversation that goes a different way. But like most cults that I see end up with an FBI raid or everybody dead.
FBI
So
rate? Yes, everybody's
by
drinking
default,
Kool-Aid.
that's not good. So we're not going to do that. But if you're surrounding yourself with people that are making you feel like a better person, that make you comfortable being who you are, that you can show up and say, "Hey guys, you know what? I've had a rough day. I've had, you know, all these other things going on. Like, you know, can we maybe do X, Y, or Z? I'm not fully there." And if they're respectful, like, you know what? I get it. I understand what you're saying. We can slow it down, and we got your back. What can we help you with? And it reminds me of a quote, and I think this is so important to me because loyalty and honesty and positivity is something I seek in friendships. And the quote is, loyalty is not something that simply happens. It is always predicated by an independent, selfless act, a supportive word, a kindly gesture, an unprovoked act of goodness. Your friends are loyal to you because you are the rarest of all people, a good person.
Yeah, I guess that's one thing I want to do. We see so much. Gosh, I just see around me. I meet a lot of good people, and that excites me about the future of humanity. And then I see bad stuff, and I'm like, really? So I think the best way to keep yourself grounded is to keep yourself around other people, keep yourself around good people, and get yourself into a community that seeks to what, Zach? Seek the good, be the good, and spread the good. I think that's
And
where we ought to
enjoy
go.
the adventure of life. I don't think, you know, we don't really need an outro today, but you nailed it with that. Like, that's what we are looking to do with this great gift of humanity we are given.
Yeah, that's where we're going, Zach. That is why we have the podcast. That's why we have this wonderful audience that we have. Like I said, we're always thankful to you guys. Send us a note. Tell us about your community. We'd love to have you on and hear your little story. Other than that, Zach, what do you got?
That's all I've got. I want to thank you all for listening because it's an absolute joy to be part of this community with all of you. I want you to go seek the good, be the good, and spread the good. Enjoy the adventure.